Lulu just wanted to be part of it today, huh? Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm doing my reading wrap-up for this week. It was the end of February, so these are all the books that I ended up the month with. So first of all, this isn't a book, it's a magazine. It's the Bake From Scratch. And from this book, or this magazine, I made raspberry cheesecake. Looks amazing, right? So that's my treat this week for while I read. So first I'm going to go over the books that I finished this week. First was We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. This is a book about a woman whose son is a mass shooter at a high school, and it is from her perspective and everything that she goes through and the turmoil that she goes through after trying to face what her son did. And it is, I have to say, like, this book is kind of haunting. It's really disturbing, but it's because some really horrible things happen in it, but it just was really haunting to read about her experiences with her son, and it kind of brought into light things like postpartum depression and what happens when a parent doesn't connect well with the child from the moment that child's born. And, you know, on the outside the family looked pretty normal, but obviously on the inside a lot more things were going on. There were just a lot of problems that it brought to light. You know, and in my field of psychotherapy, I can certainly see how it's not always the things that are overtly done that make people into what they are, but it's sometimes the things that are kind of hidden when people don't connect, when people are somewhat more neglectful rather than abusive or anything to their children. It was really great. Like I said, it was really disturbing, kind of haunting, but I enjoyed it a lot. So in that same vein, I read The Psychopath Whisperer by Kiehl. This is a person who goes around and takes MRIs of psychopaths' brains and tries to tell us what's different about them versus everybody else in the world, really. And this was very informative. I don't know, I liked it a lot, and I would say, like, I was finishing this up as I was reading the We Need to Talk About Kevin, and I was like, wow, look, it's like I'm reading the fictional side of it and the real side of it all at once. So I was really fascinated by this. I thought it was great. And a little bit scary. Yeah, because psychopaths are scary. Alright, next I read a couple of One Punch Mans, number 4 and number 5. The author of this is One. The illustrator, Yusuke Murata. These are just kind of fun to read when I'm kind of finishing up the month. Don't really want to delve into next month's reading before I finish this one this month. And it's kind of fun. It's about a superhero named Saitama who can basically destroy any foe with one punch. But I don't know that he really cares about all that, because he just seems to only care about his superhero suit and his apartment. And he does really try to make sure that other superheroes have credit, even though most of them end up dying, and he comes in and saves the day, like, every time. And you would think that it was kind of dumb because he's an overpowered superhero, but it's actually quite entertaining. Next is Uzumaki by Juni Ito. I don't know what to say about this book. It was freaky. I won't say that it would, like, give me nightmares, but just think of everything unusual or disturbing about a spiral, and it is probably in this book. So, for instance, like, an animal. What animal has a spiral? Like, a snail. So what could be freaky about that? Like, people turning into snails, and then when they run out of food, they eat them. Is that cannibalism? I don't know, but it's just weird, and that's just, like, one thing. Yeah, I don't know. It was bizarre, but it wasn't, like, horrible. It was okay. Okay, the next book that I finished was For We Are Many. This was the second book in the Bobverse by Dennis Taylor, and This one was a little bit more with Bob coming to terms with his immortality as he's watching the friends and the aliens that he meets and makes friends with, and the people from Earth that he likes that are now getting older and dying, and he is still out there and still living and going on and just spreading throughout the universe. We also get a good look at probably the main, I'm presuming is the main protagonist, the others, which so far very much overpower Bob and could wipe him out if they had an interest in doing so whatsoever. So I'll be continuing the series. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. Next book I finished was Wayward by Blake Crouch. This is the second book in the Wayward Pines series. This is about the town of Wayward Pines in kind of the middle of nowhere, and it's surrounded by monsters, and there's a crazy person who's kind of in charge of it, and kind of see what happens when someone insane rules a town. Doesn't go well. Next one that I finished is called Roses of May by Dot Hutchinson. This was the second book in the Collector series. This book, I think this series is about, are kind of mystery thrillers of girls who are being abducted and killed by serial killers, and you have the survivors of these situations that have kind of made friends with each other. So it makes me kind of wonder where the series is going. Are we going to continue to meet new people? Because I presume that the other books have followed different serial killers and different survivors. And are they all going to come together at the end and be something together? I don't know. I guess I'll find out. Maybe. I don't know if I want to continue it or not. I'm really not up for it right now. That's not to say I won't pick it up later, though. Next book I finished with my kids was The Fires of Invention by Scott Savage. This was the first book in the Mysteries of Cove. This is a world where there's a town underground where supposedly everybody lives, because the outside air has been contaminated and destroyed by invention and creativity. So in the town, invention and creativity are banned, and no one is allowed to invent anything or draw pictures or do anything creative whatsoever. The main characters in this book, Trenton and Callista, they decide to build a dragon because that takes no creativity or invention whatsoever. I did enjoy the book. The biggest problem that I had with it is there was a few too many plot conveniences. You know, they find this box that's supposed to have the answers to all of their problems. As soon as they open it and they finish reading it and reading about this horrible thing that's going to happen someday in the future, the horrible thing happens like right then. So other than that, it was pretty good. Me and my kids have enjoyed the series so far. There's a couple other books, and I think we've already started the second one. The next book that I finished was called Rise of the Ranger by Philip Quaintrell. This was a fantasy series that I found just on Kindle Unlimited. I have to say, like, at the beginning of the book, I was a little bothered by it because it sounded a lot like The Witcher. You have a guy who has scars and tattoos all over his face that goes around hunting monsters, and his hair has gone gray and white. Sounded a lot like The Witcher, and magic is kind of like in the blood of the elves. And I can't say that the whole book followed that. I have only read one of the Witcher books. I saw the series, played a little bit of the video game, so I can't say for sure like the whole plot was based on that, because later on I felt like there was other things going on. I don't know, at some point I plan to continue the Witcher series, and I guess I'll find out whether it's the same or not. But it was okay. It wasn't like horrible. It just made me like hard to say like how would I rate this, because at the beginning it felt like it was like copying this other book or this other series, and then I couldn't even say at the end whether it was or not. So those are all the books that I have finished this week. Currently I've picked up Death House Gates by Steven Erikson. I've just started it. This is the second book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And so far it seems alright. Always great when the book starts out with a decapitation. That shows the good things are coming, right? The next book that I'm currently reading is Seraphil's Hand by Melissa McPhail. And this is a first book in a fantasy series. I'm not really sure what it's all about yet. I'm just starting to get into it. I know it has supposedly like I think that this is like a post-war type of fantasy series, but I'll find out. And so far it's not too bad. The last book that I'm currently reading is the second book in the Mysteries of Cove. That is the Gears of Revolution. And this is the continuation after leaving the city of Cove, because they found out that the air outside is not toxic, and now they're going to find Callista's father, who has been missing and presumed dead for a long time. The only other thing is because some of the books I'm reading are kind of long, there's not a whole lot that I'm planning to pick up in the next couple of days. Probably the only one that I'll get started would be The Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And that's probably the only one that I'll start anytime soon. So those are the books that I've finished, the ones that I'm hoping to pick up, the ones that I'm currently reading. I post new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll see you next time. And I'm going to have a treat and read some books.